The views and opinions of the guests on The Wylener Show are those of the guests and are not necessarily the views and opinions of the hostess Wylener and or her co-host.
She's always dealing with reality. With love she imparts her sounds of the heart. She knows that who's the love will make you grow. I want to find out what you need to know. Learning is a golden know. Brother, meets the road. I'm not
What's up, guys? What's up, guys? What's up, guys? What's up, guys? How y'all doing? Oh boy, we are back with you again today, and I tell you, it's the final cut. I'm excited to be back with y'all again today, and y'all know who I am. I'm Wylener, the Las Vegas Queen of Gospel, and y'all know what show this is. This is the Wylener Show, and this is where the rubber meets the road. And if I tell you the rubber's about to meet the road up in here today, and I want y'all to know that I'm excited about it. I'm excited about it, and I am excited about it. I want to welcome everybody back. I want to welcome all of my fans back, everybody who is watching out there, all of my Facebook fans, all of my Twitter fans, and listeners and viewers on Spreaker and YouTube, and everybody who is watching out there on WylenerTVShow.com. I'm excited that you came back again today. You know, I always have to give you that second disclaimer. This is a very serious and a hard-hitting show. You may want to think long and hard to see if you can cope with the information that is about to be released here on this show. Just keep in mind, everyone, this is to educate you. The Wylener Show makes the rubber meet the road, and that means that I bring it. And some of you may not be able to deal with nor accept the information that is about to be released here. So just keep in mind, it is your decision, not my decision for you. And today is the final cut, everybody. The final cut. Prayer in schools. Why pray in schools? To pray or not to pray? That is the question. And this is the final show. We did 2 parts already, and today is the last one on this particular topic. So I want you to strap up your boots and get ready for the rubber to meet the road right here on the Wylener Show. And so listen, everybody, before we get into the show, I want to make sure that you remember to shoot me an email, okay? Shoot me an email at WylenerTVShow@AOL.com. That's WylenerTVShow@AOL.com. I would greatly appreciate it if you would shoot me that email and with your topics and your suggestions, your comments, your questions, whatever it is that you want to submit to the Wylener Show, please do so. And friend me on Facebook, if you will. I would greatly appreciate that if you would friend me on Facebook. And listen, please click the subscribe button right below this show. If you're watching on YouTube, right below this show, click the subscribe button. Subscribe. Right there beneath the window. Click the subscribe buttons and subscribe to the Wylener Show, so that way you will be notified. You will know when the Wylener Show is going live. You will be right on point, right with us, okay? And then, of course, course, if you will, please, I just want to get all this out the way. Make a donation to the Wildina Show. Any type of donation would be greatly appreciated. All you have to do is if you're watching at WildinaTVShow.com, click that pay button right up there at the top of the screen, and that is where you make your contribution. Any type of contribution is greatly appreciated because it helps us with the marketing of the show, helps us to get the word out there, okay? And so make sure that you just send in a donation. And if you want to send one in through the mail, you can do that also. And you can send that in your check or your money order to Wildina. There's my name back there. Send it in to Wildina and send that to 420 North Nellis Boulevard, Suite A3, 420 North Nellis Boulevard, Suite A3, Las Vegas, Nevada, 89110. Okay, and we look forward to moving forward here today. Listen, the phone lines will be open shortly, and when the phone lines are open, what we want to do is I'm going to give you the phone number right now, and the phone number is 702-850-5580. That's 702-850-5580. And when you call in, make sure that you mute your speakers so that we don't get feedback in the show. Okay, ask your question and take your answer off the air. All right, and if you call in and you want to make a statement, you can make a statement as well, and just make sure that you don't ask me no questions because I don't have no answers. And when you do ask questions, we have the right to agree to disagree here on the Wildina Show. Believe me when I tell you that. You can call in and you can say, hey, look, I think you guys are wrong. I don't approve of what you just said. Prove what you told me is true. Where are you getting your information from? You can do that. Call my guest to the carpet if that's what you choose to do. I'm okay with that, but make sure that you talk to us in respect, okay? We can agree to disagree as long as we disagree respectably, okay? Because if you call in here tripping and potato chipping, you know what I'm going to do. I'm going to introduce you to what I call a brand new collect, and that's hang up the phone on you, okay? All right, so listen, I'm excited that I have my guests back with me again today. I have all 4 guests, and if I tell you these guys have just learned the hard way dealing with Wildina, I must say all 4 of them is right here on point, on time. That's it. That's all. They say, well, I better be on time for the Wildina Show because if I don't, she's going to throw me under the bus. And I'm not trying to get these ties. I know we want the rubber to meet the road, but we just don't want it to meet at my expense. And so I'm just happy that the guys are back, and we have the topic again today, and this is the final cut of this topic, prayer in schools. And I want to welcome my guests back, each individual guest. I'm going to start by reintroducing and welcoming back. And guess when you chime in, make sure you tell everybody where you're chiming in from, and where you're located. Okay. All right. So we're going to start out by introducing Andrew Schatkin. Andrew Schatkin. Andrew Schatkin is with us again today, and he is that of the Christian faith. And so, Andrew, how are you?
I'm very well. I'm prepared to ask questions that are quite pertinent and will challenge every single atheist in this group.
Oh, well, he said, he said he gonna challenge the atheists. Well, let me explain something to you guys. The situation here is this. Today, the guys I have allowed, now I have some more questions of my own, of course, and you know this is how the Wildina Show works, okay? But today, the guys have been allowed to present some questions as well, okay? And they're presenting the questions to the opposite side of the fence. So the Christian guys, I allowed them to give me some questions, and those questions will be asked of the atheist guys and vice versa. Okay, and so just so I make that clear to you guys, because everybody that watches the Wild Leader Show, you guys know that I don't normally allow the guests to question each other. That's just not something that we do here. But in this particular case, we're doing it today because we're about to wrap this thing up, and I just want to see what these guys, where these guys are coming from, and what they actually want to say to the others. Okay, so we're going to go to. I'm going to go to Joe Rawlins now. And Joe, how are you doing today? And make sure you tell us where you're chiming in from, Joe.
Well, thank you very much, Miss Whaliner. Joe Rawlins weighing in here from beautiful Utah County, Utah. If you think that's near Salt Lake, you're right. About 40 minutes south of Salt Lake. And I'm very grateful for the opportunity to come here and sweat bullets over Andrew's questions. Had a bit of a lion's den, bit of a Romans Coliseum last week, so glad to see the tables might turn. And in case I have earned my way off of the Wyliner Show forever, I just want to say to all the fans out there, I will miss you all terribly if I never get called back. Elder Miller, I'm talking to you, baby. All right.
Okay. Okay, Joe. Oh boy, I tell you, that Joe is a real piece of work. He really is. I tell you. Okay, Joe, maybe Elder Miller heard you. I don't know. He might be watching, he might not. We'll see. Okay, so listen, I'm also excited to bring back with me once again Bill Cummings. And Bill Cummings they call him I don't know if it's the singing cowboy or the humble cowboy, but he's a cowboy. We know that much. And we're going to allow Bill to chime in and say hello to us and tell us exactly where you're chiming in from. Bill, how you doing today, Bill?
You can also call me a professional engineer, so I cover all bases. I'm from Port Orange, Florida, signing in here near Daytona Beach on the East Coast. It's a pleasure for these 3 weekends, 3 Saturday nights that I've been on here with these great people. And I'm looking forward to the night show. So that's all I can say to begin with.
All right. Well, thank you so much. Thank you so much, Bill. It's been a pleasure to have you these 3 shows as well. Okay. And so... Oh boy, I tell you the truth. Here we go, last but surely not least. We've got Mr. Michael Wiseman, and I've got the dude's name down right about now. At least I should after 3 shows, I tell you. I struggled with his name for the first show and probably into the second show. But I think I'm gonna be able to handle Michael Wiseman today. And so let's welcome Michael Wiseman back. Just FYI, everybody. Mr. Bill Cummings, the cowboy, is that of the Christian faith, and Andrew Shatkin is that of the Christian faith, and then of course Joe Rawlins is that of atheist or agnostic / one or the other or both, and then of course we have staunch atheist. And his name is Michael Wiseman, and Michael Wiseman is that of the Bible says what? Hello, Michael. How you doing? Talk to us.
Doing fantastic. I appreciate you having me back on. Las Vegas, Nevada again. Still hot as hell out here.
Okay, Michael, maybe I'll start out with questions with you first. Tell me about hell.
You
just said hot as hell. So I would like for you to tell me, where is hell? We're gonna start the show out just like this, y'all. Y'all know how I am. We're gonna start the show out just like this right here. Okay. Michael Wiseman, the first question go to you, man. Where is hell located? How do you know about hell? And what makes you think that Las Vegas is like hell? All of those questions I want you to answer, okay? Did you get that? Where is hell located? What makes you think that Las Vegas is like hell? And how do you know about hell? Okay? Come on, talk to me, Mr. Atheist, Michael Wiseman.
Well, hell is
Yeah, you done
located
that hole.
in Las Vegas, of course. Everybody knows hell is in Las Vegas. Why is Las Vegas hell? Because it's hot. And how do I know that? Because in the Bible, Revelation, it states that hell is a lake of fire. And it's pretty hot out here. So here's my excuse.
Yeah, you make it an excuse. Okay, that's what you do. You make it an excuse. Because let me tell you something. I live in Las Vegas and I don't live in hell. So you speak for yourself, buddy. That's what you do, okay? Now, I know you in Las Vegas, too. Somewhere out here in Las Vegas, you located. But I want you to speak solely for you. If you living in hell, more power to you. But don't speak for me, because I'm not in hell. Matter of fact, I'm having a pretty good time. And from what I understand about hell, it ain't no joke. So anyway, I mean, that's from what I understand. That's what I've heard, that it's no joke. So, you know, maybe the Christian guys can tell me a little bit about hell. But right now, as it stands, I'm not in hell, okay? So you speak for you.
Now, as the only person who grew up in Phoenix in this conversation.
Now, wait a minute. Wait a minute. I got somebody talking over me here in the background, and I'm trying to figure out who that's going to be. It looks like it might be the other atheist guy who know you don't talk over Wylena on the Wylena show, but I'm going to go on and let you speak because it looks like you really want to say something and you're going to say it out of turn. So go ahead on, Mr. Joe Rawlins. What do you want to say? You know, you don't live in Las Vegas, but maybe you don't live too far from hell, you know, so let me see. What you got to say, Joe? Go spit it out.
Forgive me, Miss Wylena. I apologize. I was just chiming in because I didn't want to miss the opportunity to mention as the only person here, I believe, who grew up in Phoenix, Arizona. I can tell you where hell is. It's not in Las Vegas. It's in Phoenix.
Well, I'll put it like this, you guys. Now, you know what? Wait a minute. Now I have family in Phoenix, so I'm gonna have to stop you there too. I refuse to have my grandchildren and my son, you know, my beautiful grandchildren in hell. Okay. No, they not in hell either. So maybe one of these days somebody will find out where hell really is. I don't know. Maybe if you guys stick around long enough and keep checking into it, you might locate hell, the real hell, wherever it is. Okay? Okay, so listen, guys, in having fun. I'm enjoying you guys. Okay, so look, we're going to go ahead and get into our conversation. Thank you guys, all four of you guys, for coming back today. And this is the final cut. And so we're going to move forward here. Prayer in school. Some would say that prayer in school is already legal. Students are already allowed to pray on a voluntary basis in a non-disruptive way. So formal school prayer is unnecessary, right? Bill?
Oh, okay. Formal, run that by me again because I'm not sure I understood.
Okay, sure. The statement is, some would say that prayer in school is already legal. Students are already allowed to pray on a voluntary basis in a non-disruptive way. So, formal school prayer is unnecessary, right, Bill?
Formal school prayer. I think we have been approved to do a moment of silence. I'm not sure about open prayer at any time because of the fact that the school is a mandatory place to be and not voluntary like it is at the Supreme Court, for instance, which is a voluntary. As I understand the latest ruling, that was made the case. The right to pray and the first and second part of the First Amendment about religion definitely says that they're just one. There's no separation between those two. And they both foment religious convictions in public. Everybody's allowed to do it, and there's no forbidding of it. In fact, for about 190 years, the Protestant faith was predominant in all the schools openly. And it wasn't until about 1962 and 3 that that was challenged. So it makes you wonder if the framers of the Constitution didn't have a bend toward the Protestant faith in this new world. That's sort of what I've come to conclude.
Okay. I'm not sure if you really answered my question, but I'm going to move on to Andrew. Let's try Andrew. So, Andrew, the statement is, some would say prayer in school is already legal. Students are already allowed to pray on a voluntary basis in a non-disruptive way. So, formal school prayer is unnecessary, right, Andrew?
Because the students are not allowed to pray. When I go to church, we speak the Lord's Prayer every week on Sunday. That is praying. It is saying something to God in a relationship. So as you're saying that students are allowed to pray, I haven't noticed. I haven't been in schools lately, but I haven't noticed any students doing what I just described, number one. And number two, let me say this. I have nothing against the people of Islamic faith. I respect them. I love them. They're redeemed. They're loved by God. They walk around in school or any place they want in religious garb, making a statement, a religious statement. That is, they are establishing by that violating the Establishment Clause and promoting religion.
Okay, Andrew.
I got more to say if you'll let me say.
No, Andrew. Okay, Andrew, we're not there yet, and we're not talking about the Muslims and all that. That's not where we're at. I need you guys to answer my question. Okay, that's what I'm asking you. That's what I'm asking you to do right now, is answer my question. Okay, so let me move on to my one of my other guests here. Let's see where we're going. Okay, I'm gonna take Matthew, and so I'm gonna repeat this one more time. This will be my third time repeating it. Some may say prayer in school is already legal. Students are already allowed to pray on a voluntary basis in a non-disruptive way. So formal school prayer is unnecessary, right? Mike?
Correct. Formal school prayer is not necessary. If you've already got prayer clubs in schools and you've already got kids that can pray till they're blue in the face anywhere in school, why do you need a formal school prayer? Does Yahweh need something formal from the teachers? Or, I mean, how does that work? I don't understand.
Okay, so you answered my question and your answer was no. Okay, let's go to Joe. Joe, same question. Did you understand my question, or do I need to repeat it again?
I understood the question, and Michael's absolutely right. I mean, the law as it has been interpreted by the Supreme Court is that you can't use the loudspeaker to pray formally for the whole school. You can't draft school prayer that the children have to recite. But you can, there's actually a Supreme Court decision saying that if it's a religious club meeting on school grounds, the school can't prevent those kids from praying together as long as it's not a part of the formal education system. And so, and of course, it would really be violating the First Amendment if there were a law that said, or an interpretation of the law that said, kids can't pray because they're at school individually. Well, of course, the First Amendment protects the right of a child or anybody to pray where you want to. It's your freedom, your right as an American. So that's true.
Okay. Thank you, guys. It looks like my two Christian guys didn't catch on. I guess y'all didn't catch on. So we're gonna move on. I would like to allow you another chance, but we don't have time. So moving on to the next. We are supposed to lead by example. So don't you think it is teaching good moral values to students when the school leaders lead out by encouraging and initiating prayer in classes, etc.? Matthew?
It's Michael, but that's okay.
Oh, okay, listen. I just don't understand what that's about. Something in my mind subliminally is telling me that your name is Matthew and it's not, and I know it's not. Michael, please forgive me. Go ahead.
No worries. If you want to lead by example, let's just lead by telling each other, let's do less harm. Let's go through life and not do harm to other people. Why do we need to pray to be moral? And who are we praying to? We're praying to Yahweh, the Christian God who, just going to say it, starves babies in Hosea 9. So why do we need to lead by example? It doesn't make any sense to me. I mean, does there other deities that would be a better one, maybe? Someone that doesn't starve children to death? But I just don't understand the whole lead by example thing. It doesn't make any sense to me.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to go over to Andrew. I'm going to give you a shot at this one, Andrew. And so here, I'm going to read it for you once again. We are supposed to lead by example. So don't you think it is teaching good moral values to the students when the school leaders lead out by encouraging and initiating prayer in classes, etc.? Andrew?
Statement. I want to say this, Wylena, and I don't mean to offend anybody by this statement, but you see where there is no prayer to the Christian God in non-Christian countries. You see what India is like. You see what Pakistan is like. You see what Saudi Arabia is like. You see what these places are like without Christian prayer. Take a look at them. Take a look.
Okay. Okay. All right. So,
Yes.
guys, keep in mind, guys, that when I'm talking, you guys don't talk, okay? I don't want to continue to mute your mics and stuff over and over. So please keep in mind that when I'm talking, you do not talk at the same time. Thank you. Okay. So, thanks for that, Andrew. So let's go over here to Bill. Bill, the same question applies to you as well, Bill. And if you need me to repeat it, I will. But if not, I'll go ahead and give you the floor. Bill?
Thank you. Now, as you know, and I've said this before, I had no relationship personally with the Bible, church, or anything else until I was 20. However, my parents were Christians. The school was Christian. The community was Christian. And all the examples I learned without prayer were absolutely on target once I found out what prayer was and what it said in the Bible. So the point was, can you lead by example? Absolutely. I didn't have to change my way of thinking. I just had to learn where that thinking come from after I met God. And so that example criteria is perfect. But the leading is the important part. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for that, Bill. So let's go to Joe. Joe, talk to me about that statement that I just made and question, please.
Oh, man. I'll tell you what. Bill Cummins for the win. That's it right there. For me, it goes back to this idea that you need prayer in order to teach children about morality. It goes back to another controversial topic, the 10 Commandments. Should we put the 10 Commandments out in front of courtyards and so forth? Because we wouldn't have morals if we hadn't had the 10 Commandments. One of my favorite authors, Christopher Hitchens, used to say, you mean to tell me for all these hundreds of thousands of years that human beings existed on this planet before there were 10 Commandments, which is not the time frame which the Bible tells us, by the way, and everybody murdered, everybody committed adultery, everybody stole, everybody hurt each other all the time? I don't buy it. And I look at it the same way. Say, look, Bill didn't need to know God and have a praying relationship with God in order to have morals. Now, surely, I'm quite certain there were people around him who helped to raise him who did have those moral values, but they inculcated it in him without compelling him to pray. And I think that's entirely possible with children. So are we supposed to lead by example? I think that's a very Christian-focused idea. But as a people, I don't see how it is Christian. I don't see how it is fair. And I certainly don't see how it's American to compel children to pray so that they will become moral people when they can become perfectly moral people without any such indoctrination. I'm trying to find a more polite word, but that's it.
Thank you, Joe.
Okay, thank you, Joe. Thank you for that. Thanks, guys, all four of you for your answers on that question. Okay, so next, what do you have to say about celebrating Christmas or Easter, etc. in schools? Isn't this the same in a roundabout way, Andrew?
I believe that Christian and Easter should be celebrated, but because I think in the foundations of our society, they were accepted and regarded as festivals and that should be acknowledged. But let me say, I say the same thing, Walina. I know you're not going to like it, maybe a lot of people aren't going to like it. Why should I just read in New York City that they're teaching the Sikh religion in the schools. The liberal left complains that you can't pray in schools, you can't have a Bible, yet they're indoctrinating and teaching Sikhism in the schools. The Islamic students, I have no prejudice against these people, are walking around making an over-religious statement to everybody. You complain about celebrating Christian and Easter? Take a look at what's really going on. If what's good for the goose is good for the gander. No religion.
Okay. Now, I tell you the truth. I've said this on my show more than once, and I'm going to have to repeat it again. You guys don't know me. You can't figure me out. You don't know what upsets me and what don't. So don't even put me in that equation. I told you that before, Andrew. Don't put me in the equation. It has nothing to do with me. I don't care what you think or what you believe. So what I'm simply saying is this. Don't put me in the equation of whatever your statement is, and don't assume that something's going to make me angry. Because if I get angry, you won't have to make no mistake about it. I'm going to put it like that. So don't sit there and speculate and guess about what's going to upset Walina, because that's not the case, and that's not for you to worry about here on the Walina Show. Don't worry about upsetting me, because I'm a pretty tough cookie. I've been doing this show for 17 years. Nobody says anything to upset me on my show unless you disrespect me as a person. Otherwise, you say what you feel like about your belief. That's why I do the show. All right. So now, with that, let me get that out the way. I had to get that out the way. Okay. So listen, guys. I want to go. I'm coming back over here. Let's come back around. Now, see, when y'all do me like that, I forget my train of thought and I forget who I left off with. So I think Andrew was my first one on that one. So the question is, I'm gonna go to one of my atheist guys. What do you say about celebrating Christmas or Easter, etc. in schools? Isn't this the same in a roundabout way? Okay, Joe.
Yes, it is. And it's very much the same. And I'll just say, since we already led off with the conversation about where hell is, I'm pretty sure it's Miss Wylener's scorn. I'm pretty sure. We'll just go ahead and put it down in the books. That's where it is. No, but yeah, absolutely. There's a celebration of Saturnalia, or we call it Christmas, that you know, if we were to celebrate it as the Roman pagan celebration of Saturnalia, you know, we'd have Christians up in arms all over this country. Okay, this is what it really comes down to. It's very much what Andrew was saying before about, well, there's a difference between the Christian prayers and these other prayers, that societies where they pray, you know, in, you know, other prayers. I don't want to get into that because I know you want to talk about that later, Miss Wayliner. As opposed to the morals and values of people in the Christian society, that's where the rubber meets the road. Is that we start to have these conversations where we prefer one religious group over another, alienating other religious groups and alienating people of no religious faith. And that violates the Establishment Clause, in my opinion. That's the spirit of the idea. It violates the First Amendment, which is that the state should not have an established religion, number one, but it shouldn't violate people's right to express their religion. Establishing one religion as having a better prayer or a better way of praying than the others, or a better way of using prayer to inculcate values in children than others, is violating, in effect, the expression of the other competing religions. So the same happens if we were to say, you know, let's all, you know, our official celebration should be Hanukkah, or our official celebration should be Kwanzaa, our official celebration should be Saturnalia. It doesn't matter. Once you establish one as being the state recognized or the school recognized or the education system recognized celebration for the students, you are automatically violating the First Amendment rights of those who do not pertain to the same group.
Whoa. Whoa. Okay, look. I'm coming back to that, Joe. I'm coming back to that. But I want to give my other two guests the opportunity to chime in too. Okay, then I might make a circle back around on that one right there. Okay, so let's go over here to Bill. Bill, how do you feel about what I just stated about Christmas and Easter? Isn't that all the same? Go ahead, Bill.
Okay, let's take a look at this thing. Let me get that up there. First of all, as I said, for the 12 years I was in high school and primary, we had Christmas and we had Easter, big events. None of those warped my mind that I can think of because I just enjoyed them. They're not really pushed in the Bible at all. Nobody even knows where Jesus was born or for sure when. Christmas is something that apparently the early church fathers, especially the Roman Catholics, decided would be a major part of religion, of that religion, the Catholic religion, in order to build that foundation under it. But in my belief, and it's coming out in my next book, the Bible is bigger than any religion. I don't really understand how believing in the Bible is going to offend anyone because it's bigger than any religion in the world. It just is. And if you want another set of rules besides the ones that are given in there with all their mess, as Michael points out, all the mess that's in there, it is just the way we are. But the Bible itself, the real gospel message, and I'm going into a great elaboration coming up, I'm working on that a lot, is that the Bible is really bigger than any religion, and we just need to understand the three pillars under faith, hope, and love. We need to understand those, and that's going to be a major part of the book. Thank you.
Okay. Okay. Thank you for that, Bill. All right. So we're going to go over here. Whoa. We're going over here to Mr. Michael. Mr. Michael, the question is, and if you got the question, I can move forward. If you need me to, okay, go ahead, Michael.
Well, I think it's okay to celebrate Christmas, Easter, and those other such holidays in school because those are there's so many different traditions that surround each holiday. They're based off of old pagan ones, and nobody celebrates the Christmas the same or Easter the same. So I think it's just a national holiday that everybody just enjoys. So why not enjoy it at school? You can have other traditions as well, other holidays and whatnot. Teach kids. But they're just watered down versions of pagan holidays. So I really don't see the harm in it. I really don't see where the religion conflict comes from.
Okay. Okay, thank you for that, Mr. Michael. Mr. Michael. Okay, so listen. Christmas is pushed all over, especially the United States. Now, I'm not too familiar with what goes on in other countries, but I do know that I know they celebrate Christmas in Pakistan, and I don't know what other countries they celebrate Christmas in. But the biggest majority of people during the Christmas holiday season, they're always talking about Jesus, little baby Jesus. Now you do have you in one hand you have the people that talk about Santa Claus, but in the other hand you have the religious side, and these are the people that say it's Jesus and it's all about giving and sharing because of Jesus being born and blase blase. So now it looks to me as though my atheist guy, Mr. Michael, is you seem to be all for it, and I heard you say it was watered down paganism, but it still has to do with religion, quote unquote religion. That's baby Jesus. Although, like I said, there's the people that say Santa Claus, and they say, it was all about Saint Nick. And apparently, it looks like a lot of people started their celebration because of Saint Nick. But the biggest majority of the people are talking about, quote unquote, Jesus. So, Michael, how can you say that it's okay? And especially being an atheist and you don't believe in the Bible and you don't believe in God and all this here kind of stuff. So why would you agree to even take part in a celebration that is somewhat pretty much based on religion? Jesus. Michael?
I would argue it is not based on religion. I think that some people celebrate it that way and some people take it that way, but it is watered down paganism. The Christmas holiday is just it was originally a pagan holiday. I can't get into the history of it. I don't know it like off the back of my hand, but the trees and the lights and the gift giving, all that. So it's just a pagan winter solstice. You got, Santa Claus isn't the only one. There's all kinds of stuff. Google has all kinds of information.
Okay. Okay. All right. I just wanted to hit you with that. And I'm going to go over here to Joe. Joe, how do you feel about what I just said? Please chime in.
Okay. Michael, I love you dearly as an atheist and godless and infidel brother. But paganism is religion, man. And the reason why why the early church fathers, as we were discussing earlier, decided to add Christmas is because the pagan holiday already existed. They're already celebrating it, and they needed an opportunity to turn around and make it about Jesus. Now, for 2,000 years, Saturnalia is celebrated as Christmas, mainly about Jesus. Now, I'll just, I don't want to take up all the time here, take up all the oxygen in the room, because we want to talk about prayer in schools. But there was a couple of years back where somebody circulated a picture of Richard Dawkins, Sam Harris, and I think, I want to say, Christopher Hitchens, prominent atheist authors and speakers standing next to their Christmas trees. Now, that's a double whammy for Sam Harris, who's not only an atheist, a prominent atheist, but a ethnically Jewish atheist. And so this was supposed to be circulated around about, you see these atheists? They claim they don't believe in God, but here they've got Christmas trees, okay? even up until the late 19th century, most people didn't have Christmas trees even in America. That was the thing that these are traditions that evolved over time. And, you know, and there, I totally agree with Michael if he says that we as people should be able to celebrate Christmas in the way that we want to. You know, we as atheists, we celebrate Christmas. I celebrate Christmas. I'm a staunch atheist. I am an agnostic, but I'll take the label staunch atheist or anti-theist any day. But we say reasons greetings instead of seasons greetings, or you say the reason for the season is reason, or something like that. You can celebrate it the way you want to, but at the core, whether or not it should be included in schools, it is a religious holiday, and honestly, I think it violates the principle of the First Amendment to celebrate it officially in schools at all.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Listen, I want to come back to Bill. Bill, you just heard the conversation going on between me and Mike and Joe. I really would like to hear you come back again and just reiterate on this particular question here, this topic about Christmas in the schools, and what I just stated, you know, about, you know, basically Jesus being the main foundation pretty much. I mean, I understood what Mike said about the paganism and, you know, the lights, and, you know, there's a few paganistic things, but like Joe said, that it's all still under the auspices of quote unquote religion too. So I just want to give you one more chance, Bill, to come back, you know, from a Christian point of view. Bill?
Thank you. I understand all of the conversations here, and I've read and studied that for, what is it, 67 years now? I'll tell my age, but since I met God, I've studied this diligently. And at times, my world has changed as I began to understand and put to rest all these things that we're talking about. They are not easy to think about fairly and then understand and then live with. The main part is, how do you live with perhaps an error in celebrating solstice as Christmas? Joe's right. We stole the solstice, shortest day of the year, beginning of the new year, and made it a celebration for Christians. I think only in one place in that Bible they talk about Jesus' birth. I'm not sure all four Gospels even explain it. We don't know what he looks like. There's more to the whole story than just prayer in school, celebrations. And that's why I'm saying the Bible is a study of mankind. We may not like it. We may not understand it, but we've got to live with it. And when we don't live with it, that is hell.
Thank you, Bill. You know what? Maybe I need to do a show on hell. Because it seems like hell keep coming up in the topic today. It seems like hell keep popping up from somewhere. Every time I turn around, it's hell. We're having a hell on the Wylena show today. Catching hell on the Wylena show today. Okay. All right. Okay. Anyway, you know, I just had to throw that in there. Okay, so look, everybody. How about just and now I'm gonna come back to Andrew on this one right here. I'm gonna give Andrew this opportunity here. How about just having a blanket meditation time in school so that each belief can exercise as they please without disruption? How about that, you guys? How about just having a blanket meditation time in school so that each belief can exercise as they please without disruption? Let's start with Andrew.
Defense of my colleagues here, my atheist colleagues, who had made some good points on this issue, that any endorsed school activity which endorses religion of any kind, and I gave the example of and I have nothing against Islamic people walking around like that, but it's an endorsement of their religion in the schools. And just the same, the Sikhs are now being taught, their religion is now being taught in New York City schools. These actions, if you allow other religions, yes, equal times, you are endorsing religious activity in the schools. And I really would tend to have to some extent, note that this is a religious intrusion into a state facility. I'd like to say one other thing, Wallina. I hope you'll let me say it. First of all, Christmas has been secularized. It's been turned into money because it's such a big holiday, because the stores sell a lot of stuff and people buy a lot of stuff. That is Christmas for most people. Feeling good, buying things, exchanging money. That's okay. But that is for most people, that's Christmas. And I think it's all right to celebrate Christmas in that extent. And also I want to say one of the things, a lot of the guys here, rightly or wrongly, have said that Christianity has pagan antecedents. Let's understand paganism. Paganism is polytheism. With all due respect, where you can find paganism today, and I'm not making a criticism of their society, is in India, where they have literally thousands of gods. The second aspect of paganism is slaughter of animals. That is paganism. That is not Christianity. That is not the Ten Commandments, I'm afraid. Paganism is quite different from the Christian religion and the words of Jesus. It's not about having 10,000 deities. It's not about slaughtering cows and drinking their blood in the street. That's pagan activities. Just want to clear that up.
Okay. Okay, I guess I must say the rubber meets the road on the Wallina show. I guess Andrew told y'all something. Anyway. Slaughtering cows is pagan, somebody says. Okay. All right. Well, listen. Okay, so let's move over here to Joe. Same thing, because I haven't covered you guys. I just let Andrew have that first. Okay, how about just having a blanket meditation time in school so that each belief can be exercised as they please without disruption? Joe?
Okay, I'm still reeling about the slaughtering cows as pagan. You know, in India, they practice Hinduism. They're pagans. They are polytheists. They believe in the existence of multiple gods. And the most offensive thing you can do is to kill a cow. They actually have raids where they go out and murder Muslims living in the community under the excuse that they killed a cow. And it's this whole thing. On the same side, you go into the Old Testament, which supposedly is a document recording according to itself, the earliest monotheistic religion in the world. And one of the first things that you have to do that it teaches is how to kill and slay animals, which would conform to a paganistic doctrine. So I'll just leave that there. I'm still reeling on it's pagan to kill and eat cows. But in regards to, what if we all just have a blanket moment, you know? On its face, I don't really have a problem with it. This is the reason why I would say I'm against establishing something like that, and I do think it violates the First Amendment, to have a moment of prayer for people to just worship however they want. Take Andrew's example about how people who are Muslim wear garb that represents their faith. Now, in school, you can do that. You can wear whatever garment represents your religion as your personal right, and that's protected under the First Amendment, and it should be, because that is your personal manifestation. But say we were to take it another step further and say, okay, nobody can wear that. This establishes a difference among the students. So you can't wear a cross. You Mormon student can't wear your garments or your, your young women pendants or your Faith in God award or whatever. You people from, everybody, you can't wear your individual manifestations of your religion. Instead, everybody's going to wear this pin that just says, we believe in things, and everybody's going to wear the same pin, or everybody's going to wear some version of the pin, but everybody must wear the pin. Then that would be violating their First Amendment rights. What if I just don't want to wear a pin? So that's where I would say it does, in fact, violate the spirit of the First Amendment to have a moment where everybody is to manifest some religious expression. Is that they're just requiring it is preferring religious people's rights over the rights of the irreligious. That's what I would say.
Okay, thank you, Joe. Thank you for that. Let's go to Bill. Bill, same question, and I hope you understood what I said. Do you need me to repeat it?
No, I'm fine.
Go ahead.
That's probably the best part of the show so far. Here's the way I look at it. Giving everyone a moment to pray silently to themselves and to their God doesn't violate the atheists. If they want to pray to nothing, I don't care. However, if you build a separate room with prayer rugs in it, as I've understood is being done in many schools, that's more than a moment of prayer. That's a religion. You let them tail off and go to their room, and 4 or 5 times a day, as I understand it, that is now indoctrinating all the other students with that faith. So you can't do that fairly in a public school. But I have no problem with this moment of silence, as the Supreme Court called it, where you are not made to do whatever you want. You're just given a free moment, as far as I know. You can pray, you can study your studies, you can do whatever you want. But just to acknowledge that we have established a government based on faith, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Life itself comes from God. That's where it comes from. Liberty is a gift of God, and the Constitution backs that up sufficiently. The right to pursue happiness is another gift from God. We can't deny that is built into our fundamental style of government. And to deny us that original reading of the Constitution and the Bill of Rights is a big error, and we fight that every year in this country. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Bill. Indeed. Okay, so let's go to Michael. Michael, Michael, let's chime in. Let's have you chime in on that, please.
I do not think we should have a moment of silence. I do not think.
Michael?
Can you hear me?
Now, yes.
Oh, did you get any of that? Absolutely. Let's go back to the beginning. Absolutely not. I do not think there should be any prayer in school. Can you hear me? Am I going through?
Yes.
Okay. So any kind of meditation time, any kind of stopping, moment of silence is absolutely ridiculous. Why does your deity need you to pray right? That's what Jesus wants. It doesn't make any sense. You can wait. And also, slaughtering things is kind of the basis of Christianity and where it began. We slaughtered things all through the Old Testament. Jesus had to be slaughtered in order for God to forgive us. Hebrews 9:22. It's just full of blood and death and slaughter and anyways.
Okay.
No prayer in schools.
Okay. So my question wasn't just prayer. It was just a blanket time of meditation for every individual to exercise as they saw fit without any disruption. So it wasn't so much as the word prayer, you guys. It's I'm asking, do you think that there should be just a time set aside for meditation and people to be allowed to exercise whatever their belief is at that it just say they give you a 5 minute block every day in school and say, okay, this 5 minutes is, well, just say that's a long time. So just say a 2 minute block every day in school. And they say this 2 minutes is for your time to meditate in your own way or your own faith or your own belief, whatever you choose. That's what I'm asking you guys. Okay. So I'm going to give you another chance on that. Go right ahead. Mike.
Yeah, like I said, it's none of it. No religion, no pause for your deity, no matter what your deity is or who you pray to, none of it. Zero. It's ridiculous. Your God, your deity, your man upstairs can wait till you get home. You're there to learn. You're not there to pray to your God. So, and again, Matthew 6:6. I just go to the Christian religion because that's, where I go.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, thank you. Okay, thank you. Listen, everybody, I've neglected to state that the phone lines are open. 702-850-5580. 702-850-5580. The phone lines are open, and if you feel you want to call in, or if you want to let us just keep right on talking, we can do that too. Okay, but anyway, we do have a caller on the line, and so let's see what the caller has to say. Hello, caller, how are you? Hello, caller, how are you?
Caller, all right, and how are you?
I'm fine, thank you. Will you state your name and where you're calling from, please?
Elder Miller from North Carolina.
Well, I think somebody been waiting on you.
Oh,
Elder Miller from North
okay.
Carolina, your name has already been mentioned on the show today. You know what you're trying to do? You're trying to get you some notoriety and famous reputation or something through the Wiley show. What's really going on?
No, I'm just enjoying the show.
Okay. All right. Go ahead.
Your question that you asked about should there be a time allotted for meditation or prayer or whatever. Again, that to me sounds mandated. And I don't think that it should be on the school system or anybody to mandate prayer in school. Now, if my child so happens to want to pray, I don't think anybody will be able to stop them from praying if they decide, because it doesn't take that long to meditate and get closer to your God as you see it. And I just don't think that should be mandated. I think if it's taught in the home, each home will represent itself accordingly. And, what's the purpose of having it there if the majority of the people don't take advantage of it? So, like I say, I believe each home should teach its child or children what they desire it to know.
Oh.
I have appreciated this statement, and I don't think it'll offend anybody that I made it that way, but I'm just not for mandated prayer. But I am for prayer in school if that's what you teach your child to do. Not force their belief off on somebody else, but to enjoy their beliefs for themselves.
Okay. Thank you very much for that, Elder Miller from North Carolina. Let me ask you a quick question, Elder Miller.
Yes.
I mentioned to them earlier on, hopefully you heard that part where I mentioned to them about Christmas and Easter being celebrated in the schools. And I asked everybody the question about what did they have to say about celebration of Christmas or Easter, etc. And isn't that the same thing in a roundabout way? And we had a pretty in-depth discussion about that because of the fact that Christmas basically is the biggest majority of Christmas is based on JESUS. But then, of course, my guess, let's see who really gave me a run for my money the most. Uh, I don't know. They pointed at each other, you know. So, oh, Michael said something about its paganism, and then Joe said. Matter of fact, Joe gave you a shout out before you before you called in. I don't know if you heard him or not, but anyway, Joe said something in relation to. He said all religion. Oh, wait a minute, maybe I got that wrong. Uh, he said something about religion. Religion was paganistic in that aspect. I think I'm repeating it correctly. Paganism is religious. That's what he said. He said paganism is religious. And so, but my question was, you know, if you don't want prayer in schools, then why are you agreeing with and Michael said he thought Christmas was okay in school because he said it was just a big farce anyway. So that's basically what it boiled down to. So what do you have to say about that?
My thought on that is this. When it comes to, say, Christmas, many people within our society decide to celebrate it by lying to their children. Now, they tell their children that this man that is of Caucasian descent, who the family do not know, is going to come to their house, especially in a black neighborhood, and shimmy down a chimney and bring them presents for no apparent reason. And then you have some people that feel obligated to tell their children the truth. Listen, this is a time of year of celebration, and I, along with so many other people, have decided that I'm going to get you some presents. And I don't want you to think somebody that you don't know loves you more than I do. So,
Elder Miller.
It's according to what lie you want to tell your child.
Elder Miller.
Yes.
I didn't have a chimney.
Well, again, do you see how that is a ridiculous story to tell your child? Then the child asks the question, well, we don't have a chimney. We don't have a fireplace. Well, it came down to the smokestack. You see, one lie leads to another.
Well,
I'm not interested in that.
I didn't tell my children about no man coming down no chimney because we didn't have a chimney, and if he came in the window, he would have got shot. So
that's exactly what I'm saying.
He never made it. He never made it to my house.
As far as the Christmas thing, I mean, it's all right to celebrate a day that you want to try to honor the birth of Christ, even though we don't actually know what day that is actually. But tell your children the truth about the holiday and exactly why they're getting the gifts they're getting. And as far as Easter, again, it's kind of based on not knowing the actual date that he died or rose. So, I mean, you can celebrate it, but I'm not for the school instituting any of those holidays for my children.
Wow.
Simply because whatever I'm telling them at home, I don't want you to give them an adverse idea of what's going on.
Wow. Okay, Elder Miller.
So, and let me say this. I had an event this evening, so I was late joining your show. And so I just got in on the end of the questions right before I called. So hello, everybody.
Okay, well, we're not gone yet.
Enjoy your show.
We're not gone yet because I still got to ask some more questions. So think
no, I understand. I'm watching, but I'm just letting you know I just joined a little late this week.
Okay.
So don't get on me like you did Andrew and Bill. But I was rushing to get here. I might have left some love on the road, but I'm here and I appreciate the show and enjoy your guests. Y'all have a good evening, and I'm going to stay tuned.
Well, Elder Miller, I must say, before you go, apparently you were late because Brother Andrew already got a tongue lashing for today.
Okay.
You'll have to go back and watch the show and see what happened on that part. But we're going to move on. Thank you so much for tuning in, and thanks for calling in. And stay tuned. We're going to keep going. All right. Have a good one. Okay, he's gone. Oh, boy. My reputation supersedes me if I tell you the truth. Okay, so guys. I want to just come right back to you guys real quick, and then we're going to move forward because I want to get to the questions that you guys have for each other. It's about that time. Okay, so listen, guys, and we're going over a little bit today, guys, if you don't mind, because today is the last show. And so if you guys are okay, we're going to, you know, just hang in there with me for a little bit because we want to cover as much as we can since today is the last show on this topic. Okay, but I want to give you guys the opportunity to chime in on the caller. Okay, one at a time, each one of you. So I'm going to start with chime in on the caller, whatever you have to say. It's okay with me. I just want to give you the opportunity to chime in on the caller. Okay, so we'll start with Bill. Bill, chime in on the caller, please.
Okay. We're talking about prayer in school as it relates to our Constitution. What is allowed and what's not allowed. I am absolutely convinced that religion and prayer in the public square was promoted in the writing of the Constitution, just as it is in the Bible. Now, here's another thing I realized this week. Our Constitution comes closer to duplicating God's original design in heaven. Is 3 pillars of foundational pillars than any document on earth. Therefore, I believe that God entered into that constitutional writing, the Declaration of Independence to begin with, and the Bill of Rights, and brought that as close as he could into our existence as a society. That's pretty well where I am right now.
Okay, thank you. Let's go to Matthew. I'm not going to go. Let's go to Joe.
Can't remember your name, you get cut off. I'll tell you, we court some controversy here on the Wyleaner Show. I mean, we can talk about controversy all day, but Elder Miller took the cake with talking about whether or not you should tell your children there's a Santa Claus. Now, that one I cannot touch. I can't go there. But going to the question of, private versus public, what is covered under the law? I love what Elder Miller said there. I have to say, I'm the one on camera. I'm the one whose voice you're listening to. I'm telling you now, I'm an Elder Miller fan. I am a diehard Elder Miller fan because he called it right. I'll give you an example, the best example I have, and I'll try to make it as brief as possible from my personal experience. I was Mormon, as I have said many times before. Now, inside Mormon temples, there's a ceremony down in the basement of each temple where there's a baptismal font. It's very much like a baptismal font you've seen anywhere else except that it's suspended on the back of 12 oxen. And we would go down in there, and one priesthood holder would stand with his hand to the square like this, take a volunteer, and a list of names would come up on a computer screen. And it would say, and we would say, so, having been commissioned of Jesus Christ, I baptize you for and on behalf of, name of the dead person who is dead, in the name of the Father and the Son and the Holy Ghost, and then baptize them. Now, that's happening inside a temple. It's private property. Somebody, you know, it's their private ceremony. But it's everybody's ancestors. Eventually, we all share ancestors. And I'll tell you, when it was found out that the reason why Mormons were doing so much family research was to baptize your ancestors as Mormons posthumously, even though it was a private ceremony that people believed did not actually work. It didn't believe the Mormons actually had power to make Mormons out of dead people. Then, nonetheless, there was an uproar, not least of which is when it was found that some names from Holocaust records were being used, and people who had died, Jews who had died in the Holocaust, were being baptized Mormons posthumously. Private ceremony, private prayer, in a private location with people doing what reaffirms their faith. There was an absolute outcry. People found it extraordinarily offensive. So this is the context where I'm going with this. Even if my atheist child can't stand up during the moment of silence and hold, you know, passages out of Charles Darwin's The Origin of Species and start going through them and educating his neighbors about evolution, then I don't, you know, because that violates their rights, then even having the moment of silence is violating somebody's rights. Why have a publicly endorsed circumstance wherein someone's rights can be violated at all? My opinion.
Okay. Thank you, Joe. Let's go to Andrew. Andrew, chime in on the caller, please.
Yes, I listened very carefully to Elder Miller's what he said. I have this to say. It has been said that to have prayer in school is a violation of the church and state barrier. It is it violates the Establishment Clause. But we all know that the coin says, "In God we trust." There's an opening prayer in the Senate and House of Representatives. This is not a church dogmatic prayer. It is not connected with the Bible. It is not connected with Christ. Nobody says they're praying to Jesus Christ in these school prayers. It is in no way resembling a violation of church and state. The word, when you hear the word church, Riley, you hear a building, you hear Baptist, you hear Catholic, you hear the Vatican, whatever. This a general reference to God is not violating the Establishment Clause. That term is used widely in our government. And the president himself. Every president I know has referred to God in praying. So what are we going to do with this and call these violations to pray in school? You're not praying to Christ. You're not praying to any particular God. It's a general statement. There's nothing wrong with it.
Okay, thank you, Andrew. And last but not least, let's go to have Michael to chime in on the caller, please. Michael?
Thank you so much. I just wanted to start off with, he's talking about teaching truth. First off, that's his truth. That's just his opinion. Second off, I don't teach my kids a lie when it comes to Christmas. I tell them that Santa's not real. There's no man that's going to come down the chimney. Also, there's no man that was born of a deity and then died and came back to life. So two impossible things are celebrated. I don't think any of it exists. I can celebrate a holiday without adding a deity. You don't need to add a deity in order to celebrate it. It's about gifts. It's about food. It's about family and friends. You don't need to add Jesus. You don't need to add the Easter bunny. You don't need to add anything. You can just have fun.
Okay, looks like I don't know what happened to Michael. You froze or something.
Uh-oh. What happened? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Awesome. Which part did you miss? I don't know. I still celebrate the holidays. I don't know if you got that part. I still celebrate the holidays because it's family, food, and friends, gifts. You don't need. I mean, I can still celebrate Easter and not worship the Easter bunny or believe that a guy came back from the dead. So I can just enjoy it. I don't understand the need to have a deity involved, or I can't celebrate it. It just doesn't make any sense to me.
Okay. All right. Thank you guys. Greatly appreciate your input on the caller and what the caller had to say. So listen, let's move forward here. Listen, everybody, you guys presented me with some questions. And these questions that you guys presented me, so my Christian guys, just so my viewers understand, my Christian guys submitted questions to me for my atheist guys, and my atheist guys submitted questions to me from my for my Christian guys. Okay, so now the questions are really off topic, but I'm going to ask them. I'm going to start with the questions that are on topic, so that we can get that out of the way, get it covered. And then, of course, we'll move into the other questions. So the questions that I'm going to begin with will be Joe Rawlins questions. And Joe Rawlins is that of the atheist agnostic / atheist agnostic / belief, non-belief. Okay, so staunch anti-theist, or something to that effect. So anyway, listen, these two questions that I'm going to ask are from Joe, and they are to Bill and Andrew. Okay, and so here we go. Joe's first question is, does your ambition for prayer in schools include a right for a Satanist or a Muslim? Does your ambition for prayer in schools include a right for a Satanist or a Muslim? Andrew?
If there would be a prayer in school, I would certainly be inclusive of all religions. That would include Muslim if that's what they're asking me. I mean, I want to make that clear. You know, that's what they're asking me, and that's my answer. Satan is no. I don't believe that that would be possible as a prayer. It would be it would be endorsed. Satan represents if he exists. I happen to think he does. Some people say he doesn't. Represents a force of evil. I don't believe evil should be allowed to be prayed to in school. No.
Okay, so we're going to move on to Bill. Bill, same question, please. Same question, Bill.
Okay. Here's where I'm coming from, because all this is based on what did the Constitution and the writers intend for our government to be like. I do believe that they honestly did not want to make people believe anything, but they highly tilted the wording toward the Protestant independent Christian religion. That's what I believe.
Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to allow Joe to, well, let's see what first of all, we have a caller on the line. So let's see what the caller has to say first before we go on to the next question. Hello, caller. How are you?
Yeah, this is Elder Miller again.
Okay. Okay, Elder Miller, how you doing?
I'm doing okay.
All right, what you got to say?
Okay, I think it's Andrew. Now, if to be fair, and I'm a fair-minded individual, if you are going to submit for prayer to Jesus, to Muhammad, to Buddha, to whoever else. You got to be fair across the board.
Satan
Now,
too, huh?
if the parents have taught them to pray in their own little space, they're not bothering anybody, I don't really see where you have a gripe or anybody will have a gripe against it. Because again, I'm not for mandated anything in school as far as religion. So if the parents have taught their child at home how to meditate and do whatever it is they do along worship lines, I think it's the same for all. If it's right, left, it's right, right.
Okay, well,
So, I mean, that go ahead.
Well, what Andrew was saying was that he didn't feel that they should be, that Satan should be included. Because the question was from Joe to the Christians is, does your ambition for prayer in schools include a right for a Satanist or a Muslim? And Andrew stated yes for everybody except the Satanist, because he said that's evil.
What Joe asked was, are you going to be fair enough since I'm going to give leeway to say, okay, to praying to your God? My question is it okay for people to do this? And the correct answer should be, if you said yes to one, you should say yes to all. Now, you're not mandating they do it, but you are saying everybody has a right. So if you're going to stand for the child that wants to pray to his God's right, you have to stand for the child that's going to pay respect to their Satanist rights. It's just fair. You can't slight one and hurt the other. That's wrong.
Okay. Okay.
All right.
The rubber meets the road. The rubber meets the road on the Juanita Show once again. Okay. Thank you, Elder Miller. Okay, so Brother Andrew, you heard the caller, and he says you can't do that. That's wrong. So listen, I got to move on though. We need to move on here to well, let's take the second question here that Joe submitted, and that is, what is the benefit of a child being forced to pray while he is at school over inviting the child to pray with his family at home? What is the benefit of a child being forced to pray while he is at school over inviting the child to pray with his family at home? And let's go to Bill. Bill?
Okay, that's a good one. That's a really good one. The benefit, according to the Constitution, of public ability to acknowledge prayer. Now, I'm not saying that I think the moment of silence is probably the most fairest since it come up, but I'm absolutely convinced that the founders found we would not be able to hold this country together without the religious aspect. In fact, that was so important. It's the first line of the First Amendment. You can't make you do it, but by golly, we endorse it. And that's written into every word of the Constitution. So I can't get away from that, and I love it. I think that's why we're so great. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Bill. Let's go to Andrew for the second question. Andrew, please address the second question. Thank you.
I will. And, for the teacher, I don't know who's going to say this, the teacher, the principal, I invite you to pray with your family. that's no escape hatch for the reality that they're endorsing God in prayer. It's just another way of doing it. Okay. Inviting, asking, recommending that you pray with your family is no different from inviting them to pray in school. It's the same thing.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Okay, so listen, let's move on because we really are over into some deep time here. So I want to move on to I was going to allow you guys to just kind of elaborate on your own question that you asked, but I don't think we're going to have time for that. So let's move on. Let's go to Michael's questions. Okay, no, I'm sorry, Bill's questions. Bill. Bill's first question is, where did man come from? Okay, where did man come from? Michael, this question is from the Christian to the atheist. Where did man come from, Michael?
That is an excellent question. You should probably ask a scientist or somebody. I don't know. I don't have an answer for that. I don't claim to know where man came from. I don't claim to know where anything came from. I don't insert a magical being. I can insert my magical invisible dinosaur and say that man was created by my magical invisible dinosaur, and nobody can prove me wrong.
Okay, Mr. Matthew, you and your magical invisible dinosaur. Sit your dinosaur down over there somewhere until we get done with the Wildina show. Okay. No dinosaurs allowed on the Wildina show. Invisible or not. Okay, let's go to Joe. Joe, where did man come from? Per Bill.
Well, depends on which man. I'm a man. I came from the not to be described in detail relationship of Glenn and Rita Rollins. And that's the way it's been for hundreds of thousands of years. It's the way it's been through millions of years of evolution, and in fact, billion years, or some 3 billion years plus of natural selection and sexual selection has been happening on this earth since who knows what. Now, if you were to ask me, and I had to guess, I would say some sort of abiogenesis did happen at some point. That is to say, lifeless stuff became life stuff. And maybe that's because of lightning, maybe it's because of some kind of chemical reaction that happened. It's not beyond reason, considering that you and I are nothing but electrochemical biological entities. We exist as a part of this electrochemical soup, and we always have. Where it actually started, I can't say for sure, and science is working actively towards the solution to that question. The difference is that we don't, we go from the present backwards like a detective. In my book, The Korihor Argument, available now on Amazon, I talk about the parable of the racist detective. I say, so you get a detective, comes on the scene of a crime, and doesn't know who committed the crime. And he says, but I can tell you what part of town he lived in because he's a racist. I can tell you a general description of the racial or ethnic background of the person who committed this crime because they are the kind of person who do this kind of crime. That's not right. That's not fair. And that's not going to lead him to the truth. That's going to lead him quite possibly to convict the wrong person or arrest the wrong person, investigate the wrong person. It's the wrong way to do detective work. Similarly, that's all that history is. History is detective work. If we go from this is the evidence we have and look backwards and say this is the conclusion we have, we're going to get to a better answer than going out into the dark and staking claim and say, well, this old book says that, this is how it all started. That's the oldest book I have. That's the book I like. That's the book that speaks to me. So I'm going to go with what that book says and build the timeline forward. That's going the wrong way. So it's the same for me to say, I know that that life started with abiogenesis. I don't know. If I had to guess, I would say it has something to do with that. Or it was seeded, life was seeded on this planet by another planet, which is another theory that's received a lot of controversy, but it's actually very plausible. It could be that life was scattered from one planet to another, say, for example, Mars to Earth or a different planet. We don't know exactly how it happened, and I think it'll be an interesting mystery to solve.
Okay, thank you, Joe. Thank you for that. Okay, so listen, now we're gonna speed this thing up here. One more question from Bill. He gave us 3, but one more question from Bill. How do you start a parked car? Now, this one I really want to hear the answer to. Bill might have to answer this one himself. How do you start a parked car, Michael?
If it's my parked car, I take the.
Okay. Okay. All right. I don't know why you keep freezing, but anyway, I'm assuming that you said you take the key. Is that what you said, Mike?
Yeah, if it's my car, I'll take the key and I'll start it and I'll go. That's how you start a parked car.
Okay. Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. And Joe, same question, please, from Bill.
The way I start a parked car, generally speaking, is an electrochemical reaction in the engine. And if that electrochemical reaction in the engine doesn't happen, that car doesn't start, it doesn't go. And similarly, if you don't have an electrochemical reaction happening in you, you don't start and you don't go ever again. So that's how we start a parked car.
Okay, thank you very much. Let me go to Bill. Bill, what did you mean by that, please, quickly?
In my testimony that I give to the Stonecroft Ministry, its title is Everything in Your Life a Dream. And every time I've run into a dead spot, like God can't steer a parked car. That's a fact. If the car stands, even God can't steer it. So how do you start it? Of course, in the car, you put gas in, you ignite it. For a human being, which is really what this is aimed at, you give them a new dream. All my life, somebody from outside, like for instance, that Gideon Bible given to me in high school, I have no idea where it came from, changed and fulfilled my whole life for the last 67 years. So that's how you start a parked car, because you can't steer it, like the atheists can't go anywhere if they don't have a dream. That's what I'm convinced of. Bye-bye.
Okay. Okay, thank you for explaining that, because I was a little mind-boggled myself on that one. All right, so look, next question, Andrew. If atheism is the answer, where are the atheist poets and painters, John Milton and Dante Alighieri? And that is going to go to Michael.
Where are the atheist poets and painters? I don't know. I'm sure there was some. I'm not a historian. I'm sure there's Muslim painters and poets too. You know, it's not just Christian poet. I don't know. I'm not a historian, but I'm sure they're not all Christian. That doesn't make any sense.
Okay. Let's go to Joe. Joe, thanks, Mike. Let's go to Joe.
No, this one. Oh, sorry. Yeah, no, this one's quick and easy. Atheism isn't true. Atheism is devoid of content. Atheism isn't a religion. It's you know, as it's been often said, I don't want to claim credit for this. It's been said by a lot of atheists a lot of times. But atheism is a religion like abstinence is a sex position. It's just not. You know, what we do, you know, I am sometimes referred to as an atheist. That's how I identify myself, to make the conversation shorter. In truth, I'm what I call a Dawkins scale 6 agnostic. If you take 1 is I believe there's a God and there's nothing you can do to change my mind, and 7 is I believe there's no God and there's nothing you can do to change my mind, I'm a 6. You could change my mind, but let's be clear, I'm a staunch anti-theist. I have been for a long time. I don't think that gods or faith are good for humanity. I don't think that our species will continue to survive for very long while religious people in government power have the access to weapons of mass destruction that they currently have. And, you know, and it worries me that we have this philosophy still permanessing in our culture. I mean, Bill, and I'll say this real quickly for time's sake. Bill, I love him very much. And he says that the Constitution is the closest thing to the government of heaven that mankind has created. I've read the Constitution. I don't see it in there. And that's a godly document. It's definitely a very secular document. And I sure hope to high heaven that if there's a heaven where Donald J. Trump can get elected president of heaven, I am sure glad to be going to hell. I'll just say that right now. But hopefully I answered your question in the first half. Goodbye.
Okay, thanks, Joe. Thanks, Joe. Okay, you guys, you gotta shorten your answers for me, please. Okay, if atheism and materialism is true, look at the results in communism, fascism, and Pol Pot, where human life means nothing. And it doesn't appear to be a question. It seems to be a statement. So you wanna elaborate on that, Mike, please?
Can you hear me?
I hear you now. Go ahead.
Was that my question?
That was from Andrew,
Okay,
and it was a statement. So I'm asking you to elaborate on the statement from Andrew, please.
Well, Daniel 4:35 is the only elaboration I'm going to give. Daniel 4:35. All the peoples of earth are regarded as a monster, man.
Okay, it looks like you having some technical difficulty over there, Michael, and we getting bits and pieces of what you have to say. So let me go to Joe. Joe, go for it, please.
I'm sorry. Read the question exactly as it is, so I make sure I answer it directly.
Okay, let me try that again. If atheism and materialism is true, look at the results in communism, fascism, and Pol Pot, where human life means nothing. And that's what it says. Okay, sure. Joe?
Thank you. I mean, look at Hitlerism and Nazism and what was accomplished there by a religious agenda. You look at Joseph Stalin in communism is another great example. Sure, Stalin himself was a terrible person by any standards, any moral standards that any of us have, even though those are subjective moral standards. He was a terrible person. When he needed to accomplish an agenda, he used religion. He used the Russian Orthodox Church. When he was particularly against the Jews, persecution of the Jews. You know, understand, Joseph Stalin didn't invent persecution of Jews in Russia. The pogroms were accomplishing it long before he was there. And whether he was there or before, it was the Russian Orthodox priests who stirred up people to go out and kill Jews in Russia. This was, now, that's not to say that there is some, again, atheism is devoid of content. There's nothing in atheism that says this is the moral way to behave and live your life. There are atheists like Pol Pot, like Chairman Mao, who did terrible things because they were terrible people. Atheism doesn't make you a better person. And I, as an atheist, I'm going to say that. But religion certainly isn't the answer to morality, as we have seen far more often than we have seen massacres or mass atrocities committed by atheists.
Okay. Thank you very much for giving answers to those questions. Let's move to Michael's questions, and then we're done with this. Okay, Michael's his first question is Hebrews 9:22 states that without the shedding of blood, there is no forgiveness. Why does your all-powerful, all-loving deity need bloodshed in order to accept an apology? Bill?
Wow. Why do we need bloodshed? Okay. Based on my faith and what I know about the Bible, God had to have a way of taking someone who had broken the law to atone for it, rather than shedding the life of his beloved mankind, which was made in his image and likeness, and who he wants to be his sons. He said, shed the animal, and then I will forgive you for that, and we can go on. But I don't want your blood to shed. But when it came to Jesus, because of the immense sin of Adam, and all of our DNA comes from Adam, whether you like it or not. The atheists have to accept that. Then Jesus paid the price not to overcome sin. He paid it to overcome death itself, which was evil's greatest weapon. That's the way I see it.
Okay, thank you very much for that, Bill. Andrew, same question, please. Did you understand the question?
Not quite.
Okay, I'll read it again for you.
Okay.
This is from Michael. His question is Hebrews 9:22 states that without the shedding of blood, there is no forgiveness. Why does your all-powerful, all-loving deity need bloodshed in order to accept an apology? And that is for you, Andrew.
Let me try to answer this. This has to do with sacrifice, which is an element of the Christian religion. I'll say this: there is nothing good that can be done without sacrifice. A mother endures great pain in the birth of a child, and raising that child, it is difficult. It is because anything good must come from a sacrifice. When we do something good for somebody, we're giving something of ourselves to that person. The sacrifice is an essential component of an evolved, developed person and society. One reason I gave with a mother giving birth, and I could give another one: the sacrifice of a soldier in battle to save his comrades. Another example of sacrifice. Without sacrifice, nothing good comes. That's what that section refers to.
Okay, thank you, Andrew. Thank you, Andrew. Okay, and Michael has one more question, but we have a caller on the line, so let's see what the caller has to say. Hello, caller, how are you?
All right, Elder Miller once again. How you doing?
Yes, Elder Miller, once again. Go ahead.
Listen, I have a request.
Okay, we're at the end of the road.
My request is this. The question that you just asked Bill and Andrew, could I get you to give Joe an opportunity to answer that question from the knowledge that he has obtained through his religious belief? That question that you asked, I would like to hear his thoughts on that.
Oh, okay. All right, will do. I'll pass it on to Joe. All right, you're welcome. Thank you. Stay tuned so you can hear what he has to say. Oh, isn't that something? Okay. So Joe, that Elder Miller, yours, he wants you to chime in on the question that I just asked. For Hebrews 9:22 states that without the shedding of blood, there is no forgiveness. Why does your all-powerful, all-loving deity need bloodshed in order to accept an apology? And he wants you to answer that from your religious teaching knowledge.
Sure.
Your religious knowledge. Go,
sure.
Joe.
I love it. Elder Miller, I tell you what, you make that rubber meet the road. I mean, this is, I love it. You know, to be fair, so I'm looking at it from two perspectives: Joe the atheist, Joe the ex-Mormon. When I was Mormon, the first two laws that we believed in, that we make a covenant in the Mormon temples to obey, the law of obedience, which is considered the first law of creation, and the law of sacrifice. And that's why I like that Andrew actually brought that up. So, I mean, the fact that there is a cosmic law to which even God is subject is a pretty controversial idea. That's why I was surprised a little earlier, Bill Cummins. I mean, I thought we were going controversial with Elder Miller saying that you shouldn't tell your kids that there's a Santa Claus. Then Bill Cummins a few minutes ago was saying there are some things even God can't do. God can't steer a parked car. I'm like, man, I'm not standing where Yahweh can hit these guys with lightning. But anyways, But the idea that there is obedience is the first principle, that you must obey the law. And then secondly, that you must sacrifice for the sake of your obedience is, I would say, whether you're talking about bloodshed, whether you're talking about anything else, the way that an established religious ideal, whether it's a formal church, the Bible, worship of Jesus, whatever you will, is a practice of subverting your personal will to the will of someone else. And it is historically the way that people, despots, and cult leaders and motivational speakers and all sorts of people extort people for money, sex, and power, which ultimately is all just different forms of power. That's the reason why God requires bloodshed, so that he can send you out to fulfill wars that benefit other men, so that he can get you to give up your animals so that they feed men who run his organization, so that you can give up some form of power that ultimately you don't give up to God, you give to other men. And that's the reason why I find historically, and at least in my experience in Mormonism and I see it in other religions too. You compare it, Scientology is a great example. It's just young Mormonism. It's a principle of getting people to subvert to the will of other human beings in the name of their deity. And that's my honest answer.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you for that, Joe. And that came from the other side of the fence, on the other side of the tracks. Okay. So listen, question number 2 from Michael, and this is the last question. In Hosea 9, Yahweh starves children to death. Does this seem like something a loving deity would do? Bill?
I'm that's a perplexing one. When the laws of God run amok instead of the spirit of the law, you do get chaos. And following the letter of the law, even in our Constitution, gets run amok. And that's where we are today with all this, the turmoil going on. No one is living by the spirit of that Constitution. Now, the Supreme Court, which I stayed up all week, heard every moment of it, is destined with the job of interpreting what did these men really mean. You got to go back to their time, to their words meant in that time. You got to do a whole lot of research, and that's what they spend their lives doing. When you miss the intent, which I've been saying, the intent is for us to be religion without being made to be religious. Our intent is to be free, but to stay free, we got to fight for it. So there's life itself. You cannot take another person's life intentionally. You pay a price for that. So the intent is to make us a cohesive, working society based on those 3 principles. And when you go back and interpret it based on the letter, where the atheists come from here a lot of times, and that's where the school prayer got in trouble. That was basically an atheist. They challenged it on the basis of the letter, not the intent. And you're going to get in trouble every time you do that. Bye-bye.
Okay. Thank you for that, Bill. Same question, Andrew, please.
It's very difficult. The Bible represents an evolution, God's gradual revelation of his nature. This question has been raised: why would God make a flood to kill the human race? Why in the book of Judges was there one of the women judges hammered somebody in their head? But we have to understand that God had to work with a society that was not fully developed, and he gradually revealed his nature. Yes, part of it was partially revealed gradually, but when we reach the time of Jesus, we see a more developed deity. When we look at the prophets like Isaiah and Jeremiah and the Psalms with references to poor people and widows and orphans, and Jesus saying the poor in spirit are blessed and blessing the poor. This is a more developed revelation by God of his nature. That's why there is this confusion, because throughout the Bible, as God gradually, he dealt with a more basic, if you will, primitive society, gradually, partially revealed himself to them. And finally, in the revelation of Christ, we see his full nature of love, undying love and mercy, which is not present before that. It's a gradual revelation. That's my explanation.
Okay. Thank you, all of my guys. Thank you so much. So listen, guys, 1 minute closing thought. I'm going down the line. 1 minute closing thought. We're getting ready to get out of here. Okay, let's start with Michael. 1 minute closing thought, Michael.
Closing thoughts, school prayer. What are you praying for? If you're praying for protection, am I gone? Not hear me. How about now? Give me a thumbs up when you can hear me. Anybody?
Yeah.
Okay.
You were gone, and you know.
Sorry.
You can try it again. Go ahead,
right.
Try it again, please.
What is the prayer good for? Why are you praying in schools? If you're praying for protection, Psalm 121, 7-8 says Yahweh will keep you from all harm. If you're praying because you want God to do something, well, God already. Daniel 4:35, all the peoples of earth are regarded as nothing. He does as he pleases with the powers of heaven and the peoples of the earth. God's going to do what he wants anyways. What is the point of the prayer? And he knows everything. So you can't tell him to change his mind. It doesn't make any sense. The prayer doesn't make any sense. Also, Yahweh creates evil, Isaiah 45:7. So if you're going to
Okay. Okay. All right. So we lost a bit of Michael there, but anyway, let's move on. Andrew, closing thought, please.
I heard Michael talk about prayer. Prayer is about a relationship. God wants us to pray to him voluntarily because he wants a relationship with his created beings. Prayer is a conversation. It is a relationship, establishing a relationship with God. And then when we talk about school prayer, we're evading the issue that prayer to God is not the establishment of a religion. As I said 100 times, you see God on the coins, the president refers to him, there's a prayer in the Senate. No way that is this a violation of separation of church and state. To say that prayer has to do with the church, it has to do with a general prayer to God, and God wants us to know him and understand him and love him, as we should love one another.
Okay, thank you, Andrew. Joe, closing thought.
Thank you very much, Ms. Philener. Always great to see your face. Always great to be here on your show with your fans. I've enjoyed every opportunity. I hope I get a chance to come back. If not, well, here it is. We're certainly not done with prayer in schools. It is a violation, in my opinion, and I think legally defensible, of the First Amendment to print "In God We Trust" on the money or anything else, to display the Ten Commandments or any other religious memorial on public grounds, especially in courtyards. It definitely, I think, violates the First Amendment that people are sworn into office on a Bible, or that they pray before any legislative meetings or any other such government meetings. We're not done, and I think that the improving secularization of this country laws is going to be the improvement of this country. And just to use up the last half of my minute, here it is. Compulsory and/or voluntary prayer in schools is un-American, and it's harmful to students. What maximizes the well-being of children? To be exposed to critical thinking in a neutral environment where religion doesn't separate them from their peers. What harms children? Indoctrination into dogmatism that separates them from their peers and convinces them that there are religious ideas that are supreme and unchallengeable, like the idea that some people's religions are evil, like Andrew was saying before. How and why ought we to build up Jefferson's wall of separation and church and state? I would, to answer the question, finally, Google. Get your Google machine out and Google Thomas Jefferson to Thomas Law. Google Thomas Jefferson to the Danbury Baptist Association, and take time and interesting letters to correspondence to read is the correspondence between Thomas Jefferson and John Adams, where they talk about Christianity, they talk about religion and its role in government, and more importantly, the importance of secularism. Thank you very much, everybody. Sorry to word load you at the end there. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Joe. And last but not least, Bill, close it out, please.
Thank you. I appreciate every comment that I've heard, and I understand it. But the point is, the framers of our Constitution and our Bill of Rights, guaranteeing those, formatted an image that there is a God, and it needs to be expressed publicly. It must never be mandated. Therefore, the intent of the Constitution has to be the primary duty of our Supreme Court, because you have Congress making laws, you have the president and all the power to enforce those laws, all the power, and you have the Supreme Court interpreting those laws so that mankind can form a more perfect union. Why have we existed so long, and why are we ahead of everybody technically, emotionally? We break down more than anybody. Why do we have all these? Because we're free. And I tell you this, until you pray, God will not interfere with your life. When I prayed, that made me human. That's what happened. Thank you.
All righty. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Guys, listen, this has been a deep show, and this is actually, I think, has been the longest show that I've done. This has been a 2-hour show today, and this is the close out of Prayer in Schools, and I just want to say thank you to each one of you. But first and foremost, I want to remind everybody, you don't want to miss next week's show. The law, grace, forgiveness. Are they all together, or should they be kept separate? What does your belief teach? What does your belief teach? I will have at least 2 guests, possibly 3, Christian and anti-denominational and atheist, and yet another discussion that is going to be off the chain. 2 return guests and possibly a brand new guest, and you don't want to miss it. I want to say thank you again to Michael Wiseman, the Bible Says What podcast, and William Cummins, the smiling humble cowboy, Andrew SCHATKIN, and Joe Rawlins, 2 renowned authors. Please visit their website by clicking on the books on my page. Well, y'all know what I always say. Study for yourself. Study for yourself. There's so many different teachings and beliefs out there. You will be confused. Don't wait for the person up front to tell you everything you think you need to know. Get in them books, get in an encyclopedia, get on Google, get on the Bible. Do what you got to do, but study for yourself. Y'all know who I am. I'm Wylena, the Las Vegas queen of gospel, and y'all know what show this is. This is the Wylena Show, and this is where the rubber meets the road. We'll see you next week.